Hope I'm in that photo with Lewis. Hello.
Morning, everyone. Just a quick run through. Nothing new in terms of the structure for most of you emails before. So we'll have a split, which will be our live immediate use broadcast online agency section. We'll follow that with a print embargo for 10 o'clock. And then there'll be a Sunday session after that, followed by photo and GV piece to camera opportunity for the broadcasters. Those of you who are joining us for the meeting later on is specifically for interview access. So if you're working with visuals, it doesn't pertain to you, it is specifically for interview access, just to be clear on that part. So just hand you over to Gregor.
Gregor, it's hard to know where to start with this. 3 uncapped hookers, let's start there. Obviously you've got Stuart as your front liner, 3 uncapped behind him. Is that a concern for you?
It's an opportunity born out of injuries to Fraser and George. But these players have been playing fairly regularly, especially Grant and Jake. And David has been back up to Stuart most of the season, getting game time off the bench. So we're involving players that are playing for the clubs, playing well for the clubs, and it'll be exciting to work with them and see which one makes that squad for the Italy game.
Am I right in thinking that Dave, Jerry and Jake have not been involved in the training squad before?
Yes, that's right.
How much do they have to make up on them? Because obviously you're in a very technical position, you have a specific way of doing it. They have a lot to learn in a short space of time.
Yeah, well, I think Grant is in that situation as well. He came on tour and he did come into the squad, but during November, but he's not been in a match day squad. So all 3 of them are coming in, having had no experience in a match day squad. Where Grant and David have maybe an advantage is the fact that they play alongside players that are playing international rugby at their clubs. So whether that's the second row they're throwing into on a daily basis, the props that they're working with at scrum, so it won't be that big a change for them. And the rugby that both Edinburgh and Glasgow play, there's a lot of similarities to what we'll be doing. With Jake, the pleasing thing that we've seen with him is he's earned the right to start a big club with strong competition. He works very hard. He's a learner. We've been impressed with what we've seen on the field, but also the feedback we've had from players and coaches at Leicester. So yeah, it's an opportunity for all 3, and we'll get to know much more about these players when we work with them.
I'm looking at your injury list, and it's pretty extensive. There's a lot of guys who'll be in the match day 23. How are you going to cope without all the experience and all the class?
Well, yeah, I think that injury list it's going to be like that every Six Nations. When you put a World Cup squad together, or if you have a game at the beginning of the season, you'd like to think that injured list is going to be much shorter. But midway during the season, you're going to have 20% your squad likely to be unavailable. A number of those players will be back during the Six Nations. Probably not for the first 2 games, but hopefully before we play France. So it should reduce. I'm crossing my fingers under the table. But that's part and parcel of international rugby. And by the time we get to Monday, there might be a couple more. There's big games this weekend. It is an opportunity for players, yes, with the 7 uncapped players, but other players to come in and show us what they can do in training. If they're involved in the 23 against Italy, go out and grab that opportunity. Most of the players have been playing regularly over the last few weeks and playing really well for the clubs. So we've picked players that are in form. When you consider what Edinburgh and Glasgow have been doing with Champions Cup in recent weeks, they're going into the tournament with a lot of confidence.
Of the players that narrowly missed out, could you tell us anything about guys who can be considered to be a bit unlucky?
Yeah, lots of players. I think if you look at a couple of positions, so scrum half, for example, it's a position of real depth and real quality. Henry Pyrgos has been playing outstandingly for Edinburgh. He started the season well, playing regular rugby. I feel he's playing better now than he did before November. And he's very close to our squad, very close to our 23. But we've decided to go for three scrum halves that were involved with us in November. And those three are playing well too. Ali Price is back in the form he was in when he played for Scotland a year ago, regularly. Greg is playing really well. He's our captain. He did very well for us in November. And George has been exceptional in terms of his attack play, his try scoring ability. So we're delighted with the form of those players, and also knowing that Henry is doing really well just in reserve. The other position where we have a lot of strength and depth is second row. So 4 second rows played for us during November. Johnny, Sam, Grant and Ben, they're all playing well. We've got players playing regularly for other clubs in Europe, like Rob Harley, Scott Cummings coming to the Glasgow squad, Glenn Young and Andrew Davidson at Newcastle. Richie Gray should be back within the next couple of weeks. So that's a great position for us to be in, to have that quality in one position.
With so many injuries of so many top players, presumably the target is to win the Six Nations. Can you win the Six Nations? Missing so many of these guys.
Yeah, every team will have challenges with injuries. Every team will be going into this tournament believing they can win. That's the only reason we take part in it, is to win the game that's ahead of us and win the trophy at the end of the tournament. And we believe in our squad. We've seen how they've taken on the best in the world over the last few years, and on some of those occasions we've had a lot of injuries. On some occasions we've had a stronger squad or more numbers to pick from. But over the piece, I think we've got a squad that has a lot of experience and players playing with confidence and in really good form just now.
Gregor, Edinburgh got a massive result of the weekend against Toronto, and the chance of making the quarterfinals of the Champions Cup. Glasgow very much in the hunt for that as well. How much confidence does that give you, seeing the way that the two professional clubs are playing in the concert that players?
Lots. I think the bridge between November Tests and Six Nations is great for club rugby and great for preparation for the Six Nations. You go into 4 Champions Cup games, and for our players that are playing in Edinburgh, playing in Scotland, they played 2 1872 Cup games, big derby games. So that's 6 games of high quality, high level, high intensity, and our players that have been selected, and especially Edinburgh and Glasgow, have came through that period playing really well. Winning in France is a huge boost. Glasgow have done that, and now Edinburgh have done that, so that'll give them confidence when we go to Paris later in the tournament, and they'll have the knowledge that they can take on the best teams in Europe and find a way to win. We're all looking forward to this weekend as well. It's a huge game for Edinburgh, playing a strong side in Montpellier that have to come here and win. And then the following day you've got one of the best teams in Europe taking on Glasgow. So my first hope is everybody gets through fit, no injuries, but also that we see how our players play against top teams in Europe that with something at stake.
In terms of when you reflect back on one test, what do you think you need to improve on from those 4 games in order to make yourselves real contenders?
Well, there's a few technical and tactical details that I won't share with you, but the general feel after the general reflections after November was that we played pretty well. We didn't take opportunities against Wales. We obviously were only able to select from players in Scotland that day, but we pushed a team that's currently 3rd in the world, very close. We'd 3 tries disallowed in that game. It was a much improved performance than when we played Wales in the Six Nations with a full team to pick from. We threw everything into the South Africa game, and again we had opportunities against a very physical opponent. We went toe-to-toe with them. Again, could have came away with a win. And then when you look at our 2 victories, Fiji was much better in terms of attack and how accurate we were that day against a very dangerous side who went on to beat France a couple of weeks later. Argentina was a different way to win, but it was one that we did find a way to win in tricky conditions. So over those 4 games, we've learned lots. Learned playing against different opposition, what worked, what we need to emphasise more to our players, what we need to be better at when we come in and train on Monday next week. But I believe that the experiences we've had, built on what we did the previous season, puts us in a good position going into this tournament.
You've been able to hit the heights in sort of individual performances over the last couple of years, but how much is consistency the key to be able to bring that level of performance throughout the 5 games?
Yeah, well, I think consistency is making sure the difference between your best performance and your worst performance isn't that big, and I think we showed that over November. Before that, we've had some poor performances. USA, Wales obviously stand out. I think November was 4 performances. Yes, we maybe didn't play at our absolute best, but the level of play really put the opposition under pressure. The effort that the players put in put us into positions to be able to potentially win all 4 games. That's what we need to do in these 5 games against some of the top teams in the world. I don't believe there's ever been a championship where the number 2, number 3 and number 4 team in the world are Ireland, England and Wales. So it shows the quality of opposition we'll be facing.
The record here is obviously fantastic. How important is it to start off with the games here?
Yeah, hugely. The Six Nations is about momentum. You've got to do well in the first round of games, so those 2 games, to obviously have a chance of winning the tournament, but also to give the players confidence to go into that 3rd game knowing that you're still got a realistic opportunity of picking up the trophy. To have both games at home is an advantage on paper. We love playing at home. The crowd have been fantastic. The fact there's no travel between our first 2 games is a boost. But we're going to make sure we grab that opportunity to deliver what we believe we're capable of, which is 2 victories in our first 2 games.
We'll just move on to the print embargo now, thanks. And it's been a good 12 minutes now for the live section. So
Given the world rankings, Gregor, do you think this is going to be the toughest Six Nations to win ever?
Yes, it'll be. It's been competitive over the last few years. You've got teams struggling or finding it difficult to win away from home because the teams they're up against are so good, and it's tough to beat those teams away from home when they're ranked in the top 5 in the world. I think that when you look at the fixtures this year, so England-Ireland first game, they've got other very exciting fixtures that you can't call who's going to win. So it's a great tournament for supporters. We see it from a playing and coaching point of view that it's very difficult. Whether that's Italy in the first game and the quality they're showing, especially through Treviso and their coaching that they have, it's going to be a very tough opponent, right through to those teams that are ranked in the top 4 in the world just now. Maybe the World Cup year creates even more of a focus on how important this tournament will be for teams performing well to go in the World Cup with confidence.
Okay, thanks. Just moving on.